Welcome to Auto Barn Collision Center and our videos on how to maintain your vehicle. This video is going to be based on corrosion, rust in particular. In the North Country, in most cases we've seen corrosion and or rust on our vehicle at one time or another. And this video is just going to demonstrate some of the different types of rust and the repair procedures if you do want to repair them. So let's start out with the first type of rust, and that is rail dust. Rail dust you're going to see on light colored cars. It's on pretty much most cars in our area. It's a very small chunk of steel that is stuck to the finish. It's actually on the top of the finish, but it is stuck to it. And it comes from railroad tracks. Railroad tracks and train wheels emit some very fine particles of metal. And in the summertime, you can drive through in the rain. And it picks it up. It sticks to the side of the car. These can be removed with clay bar. So if you go to your local automotive store, most of them sell a clay bar kit. That kit tells you how to take care of it. And if you look at our video on maintaining the finish, it also will demonstrate that. The second type of rust is surface rust. Usually it's minor. And usually we're going to recommend that you repair it as soon as possible, because as it embeds itself into the steel, it will get to a point where you can't correct it. So as soon as you see it, you should at least touch it up, if nothing else. If it's a bigger chunk of metal that's rusting, you're probably going to want to come to us or to a collision repair shop and ask them how much it would cost to repair it. The third type of rust is perforation, and that is the biggest problem. That's something we're going to recommend you don't spend any money on, because as you're going to see in the video, the back side of the panel is much worse than the front side of that panel. So if you've got a small spot of rust in the front, chances are it's 10 times the size of that on the back panel. And the problem is it's going to be return repair, which means that if you fix it this year, chances are you're going to fix it again next year. And at that point, unless you replace that panel, which is very expensive, you're going to want to save that money towards your next vehicle. Stay tuned.
Rail dust. We talked about it on our video on maintaining the finish on your vehicle. And we talked about the fact that it's a small chunk of metal on the surface from railroad tracks. And as you can see on this white vehicle, you can actually see these little spots of rust. They are actually little chunks of steel stuck on the finish. They will come off with a clay bar, and after they're removed, you can wax the vehicle.
And this is the second type of rust we talked about. This is surface rust. And this spot came from looks like a door hit the side of this vehicle, and it removed the paint, and you can see that it's starting to rust. At this point, you could repair that, and it would be a good repair, would last, it would be worth spending money on. Or you could touch it up, something to cover the metal so that it doesn't keep corroding. If you wait too long and it gets too corroded, then there's no way of getting it out completely. Here's another example of corrosion that we see. This customer came in complaining that he had bubbles coming out of his paint, wanted to know how much it would cost to repair them. Looking at it closely, we can see that it's actually corrosion that is coming through from the inside. These are pinholes in the steel, and you can see one of them actually has popped off, and you can see the corrosion underneath it, which is telling us the back side of that panel is totally covered with rust. And there's no sense spending any money on this panel because it's just going to return unless you replace this panel. Alright, this is a vehicle that we replaced a quarter panel on, and I just want to demonstrate what a panel looks like on the inside. Looking at this panel, it looks in great condition. We are replacing the other side, but I'm going to show you what the other side looked like inside. This is inside that right hand side quarter panel, and you can see how the corrosion has accelerated on the inside of the panel.
This is at the bottom. You can see how bad the rust is. And this will come out shortly. It'll come out as a small spot, and the customer will come and ask for an estimate, and we'll explain to them that the inside of the panel, and then you can see the outside of the panel, even though it's a little beat up because it's been in an accident, has no corrosion whatsoever showing. And it may be a year, 2, 3 years before it shows, but when it shows, the inside is going to be much bigger than the outside panel as far as corrosion goes. So when a customer will ask, it's just a little spot of rust, we're going to let them know that the internal parts of that are a lot worse, and as we clean and grind, that panel is going to start to show a bigger and bigger spot of that rust. We would like to thank you from Auto Barn Collision Center, and join us for future videos.